Truth Unveiled here, keeping you updated with the world around you. And as you can see, Venezuela has just run out of money. And this is the third time I'm reporting on Venezuela. The first time was the food and water crises, and the second time was the government shutdown. And now this. I hope you're seeing it. Things are getting from bad to worse, literally days and days apart. But I'm here at Zero Hedge, and it says this is the end. Venezuela runs out of money to print new money. Back in February, when we commented on the unprecedented hyperinflation about the unleashed in the Latin American country whose president just announced that he would expand the weekend for public workers to 5 days. So not only are they running out of money because of hyperinflation, but now there's only a 2-day work week in Venezuela, and we're going to talk about that. And here's the Venezuela annual inflation rate, and it's forecast this year to grow to 720%. And it goes on to say, we joke that it is unclear just where the country will find all the paper banknotes it needs for all its new physical currency. After all, central bank data shows Venezuela more than doubled the supply of 100, 50, and 2 Bolivar notes in 2015 as it doubled monetary liquidity, including bank deposits. Supply has grown even as Venezuela has fewer U.S. dollars to support new Bolivars as a result of failing or falling oil prices. Then it goes on to say that the WSJ responded that millions of pounds of provisions stuffed into 36 747 cargo planes arrived here from countries around the world in recent months to serve Venezuela's crippled economy. But instead of food and medicine, the planes carried another resource that often runs scarce here, bills of Venezuela's currency, the Bolivar. Then it says the shipments were part of the import of at least 5 billion banknotes that President Nicolas Maduro's administration authorized over the latter half of 2015 as the government boosts the supply of the country's increasingly worthless currency, according to 7 people familiar with the deals. And because the inflation rate is so bad and the hyperinflation rate is so high in Venezuela, even if they were to print out more of these Bolivar notes, what that would only mean is more and more debt for Venezuela, more and more tensions when it comes to money. It even says the high cost of the printing binge is an especially heavy burden as Venezuela reels from the oil price collapse and 17 years of free spending socialist rule that have left state finances in shambles. Most countries around the world have outsourced banknote printing to private companies that can provide sophisticated anti-counterfeiting technologies like watermarks and security strips. What drives Venezuela's orders is the sheer volume and urgency of its currency needs. The central bank's own printing presses in the industrial city of Maracay don't have enough security paper and metal to print more than a small portion of the country's bills, the people familiar with the matter said. Their difficulties stem from the same dollar shortages that have plagued Venezuela's centralized economy as the Maduro administration struggles to pay for imports of everything, including cancer medication, toilet paper, and insect repellent to battle the mosquito-borne Zika virus. Yeah, because it comes from mosquitoes, doesn't it? Even though I've already proven that the Rockefellers fund it. It's all a big, big scam. Not only that, but here's what's even worse about this situation is that they, as in the elite, they know they have plenty of food. There's plenty of food for the entire world. There's plenty of water for the entire world. But what are they doing? They're trying to eliminate these resources from countries like Venezuela and other third world countries. Why? Because they're getting ready for the bigger agenda of UN 2030, Operation Depopulation. And it's no surprise that they're starting in places like Venezuela because they're trying to rev up and see and get reactions and test all this out before they bring this stuff to America and Europe. Yes, you heard me that it's only a matter of time until things like this and what's going on in Venezuela and the current crises there will be brought here to America, whether you want to hear that or not. Then it goes on to say, why not just print a single 100 million Bolivar note instead of 1 million 100 Bolivar bills? And then it goes on to say that Venezuela is spending a lot more than it needs because the government hasn't printed a higher denomination banknote, revealing a misplaced fear. Analysts say that doing so would implicitly acknowledge high inflation the government publicly denies. So a case in point, what's the problem? That the more money they try to print out, the more inflation that it causes. And so that's exactly what they're trying to do. Then it goes on to say that the president in late December changed the law to give himself full control over the central bank, stripping congressional oversight, just as his political opponents took control of the National Assembly for the first time in 17 years. So as you can see, it's only getting worse. The dynamic is getting much, much worse. And the socialism is only getting worse. Socialism, communism, Bolshevism, all over again. And the effect of it is that it's affecting millions and millions and millions of people. There's hardly any resources because they're the ones staging it. They as in the elite, because they know exactly what they're doing, because they're going after the oil there. And it's only a matter of time until everything comes tumbling down. Now I'm here at Bloomberg as well, and Bloomberg says Venezuela doesn't have enough money to pay for its money. And it goes on to say Venezuela's epic shortages are nothing new at this point. No diapers or car parts or aspirin. It's all been well documented, but now the country is at risk of running out of money itself. Then it goes on to say, in a tale that highlights the chaos of unbridled inflation, Venezuela is scrambling to print new bills fast enough to keep up with the torrid pace of price increases. Most of the cash, like nearly everything else in the oil exporting country, is imported. Not only that, it says with hard currency reserves sinking to critically low levels, the central bank is doling out payments so slowly to foreign providers that they are foregoing further business. As you can see, and I hope you're seeing this, this is all a stage collapse. This is all controlled demolition, and they're starting with Venezuela. Why? Because they keep mentioning the oil there. Anytime a country has oil, the Zionists are going after it, and that's just the darn truth. You can see it with Syria, you can see it with Afghanistan, you can see it with Iran, you can see it with Iraq. It's no different, and this country is no different. Unless you comply, they are coming after you, and that's just the darn truth. But it goes on to say Venezuela, in other words, is now so broke that it may not have enough money to pay for its money. People, I hope you all are really seeing how important this really is and how big this really is. The fact that a country cannot have or support itself with enough money to pay for its own money. Not only that, but with all the other crises that are going on in this one place, it's only a matter of time until this becomes a trickling effect in the rest of the world. And I hope you're seeing that. And don't get it twisted. It's not just money that they're dealing with. It's not just hyperinflation. Oh, it goes much deeper than that. But it goes on to say that the story began last year when the government of President Nicolas Maduro tried to tamp down a growing currency shortfall. Multi-million-dollar orders were placed with a slew of currency makers ahead of December elections and holidays when Venezuelans thronged banks to cash their bonuses. And this goes on to say that the inflation is driving a huge increase of bills in circulation. It's only getting worse. And see, that is the scam of the Federal Reserve. What do? They all print out fake money, fake bills, fake notes. Then they loan them to the banks for what? Interest, so that we can be enslaved to the system more and more. And now they're the one, they as in the elite, they as in the Zionists, are now slowly starting to collapse the system altogether. And we're seeing its trickle effect, and we're seeing the bigger reaction. Because remember, problem, reaction, solution. They cause the problem by causing inflation to begin with, when there really is no inflation, but that's just what they're going to call it. And then they say the solution is, oh, well, the solution is you can either decide not to print out more money or come up with solutions from a socialist perspective. They're going to try to do anything they can to pacify the crowd and pacify the people, when they know darn well it's only going to get worse, when they also know that this is the goal of what? Depopulation. And they're going to try that any single way they can. And I just hope you are seeing that and seeing the bigger agenda for what it really is. Now, what we should also be thinking about is what type of effect is this going to have on not just the country itself, but the rest of the world, and as well as the people in Venezuela as well. Because here I am at Reuters, and it says Venezuela economic crisis means fewer meals, more starch. Did you hear that? It means fewer meals. That means not as much food, the food crises. And you can even look up different pictures of Venezuelan stores that'll even show you there are hardly any food in the stores to begin with. And you don't think they're bringing this to America? Oh, I suggest you seriously think again. But it goes on to say Venezuela's soaring prices and chronic shortages have left 65-year-old homemaker Alida Gonzalez struggling to put meals on the table. She and her 4 family members members in the Caracas slum of Petare now routinely skip one meal per day and increasingly rely on starches to make up for proteins that are too expensive or just simply unavailable. With the money we used to spend on breakfast, lunch, and dinner, we can now only buy breakfast and not a very good one, said Gonzalez in her home, which on a recent day contained just a kilo of chicken, about a pound, 4 plantains, some cooking oil, a small packet of rice, and a mango. The family did not know when they would be able to buy more. And it says recession and a dysfunctional state-run economy are forcing many in the South American OPEC country of 30 million to reduce consumption and eat less balanced meal. Remember what I said, problem, reaction, solution, and more importantly, we're focusing today on the reaction, because we know darn well that they put Maduro in charge in the state-run economy, and they make it into a socialist state in order to cause recession, cause upheaval, cause chaos, and cause what? Food shortages and energy shortages and water shortages, when they have more than enough food and water. But of course, you can't make money off that. So they have to keep feeding us this story and keep feeding us the propaganda that, oh, they ran out. Oh, there's not enough. Oh, that's what they want us to believe. But it goes on to say, in a recent survey by researchers from 3 major universities, often critical of the government, 87% of the respondents said their income was insufficient to purchase food. The study of nearly 1,500 families found rising percentages of carbs in their diets and found that 12% of those interviews do not eat 3 meals a day. Now, this is what they're telling us. We know it's much worse than this. They're going to try to pacify us any way they can, but we know it's much worse than that. Now it goes on to say, government supporters have long pointed proudly to the improvement in eating under late socialist leader Hugo Chavez, who used oil income to subsidize food for the poor during its 14-year rule and won UN plaudits for it. Anytime you see the United Nations, some alarm bells should be ringing. But it goes on to talk about some other families who hardly have enough food. This is literally what they're living off of, literally, and it's only going to get worse from here. And it's not just Venezuela, it's other places that will be and that are affected by this too. And if you don't think it's coming to a neighborhood near you, I suggest you think again. But it doesn't stop there, because I'm here at the International Business Times, or IBT, and it says Venezuela power cuts, 2-day work week for government employees to save electricity. So the electricity crisis is ongoing there as well, not on top of the money crisis in Venezuela not affording to print out more money because of the already high hyperinflation, the caused problem to the Zionist plan of the New World Order, as we can see. And I really hope you're seeing that this is all staged, it's all controlled, it's a big controlled demolition. They know exactly what they're doing. But it goes on to say, a girl does her homework by candlelight at her home during a power cut in San Cristobal in the state of Tajira, Venezuela on April 25th. The government of Venezuela has introduced a 2-day work week for all public sector employees in its latest effort to tackle the crippling energy crisis in the oil revenue dependent South American economy. Why does every resource keep mentioning the oil? Very interesting. The country is facing a major drought which has reduced the water level at El Guri Dam, Venezuela's main dam and hydroelectric plant, which provides for about 2/3 of its energy needs, to near critical levels. And like I said, they could fix it even if they wanted to. All it takes is a quick fix. Why aren't they fixing it? What are they really doing? What are they really planning for? Just what are they getting ready for? It goes on to say, speaking on his weekly national television program, Mr. President Nicolas Maduro said Tuesday, from tomorrow for at least 2 weeks, we are going to have Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays as non-working days for the public sector. So what does that mean? 2-day work weeks. An announcement earlier this month, the socialist government had already given Fridays off to government employees till the end of May to reduce energy consumption. Primary schools will also be closed Fridays. While the new decree about Wednesdays and Thursdays could be withdrawn earlier, Fridays will remain off until June. This is a necessary measure while we pass the critical weeks, Maduro said, adding, I'm asking the citizens for all their support. Government workers in sensitive sectors such as food will not be covered by the new decree, and despite the 2-day work week, salaries of about 2 million affected workers will be paid in full. So now salaries are going to be affected by this. People's lives are going to be affected. Jobs are affected. People can't go to school as much. There's not as much electricity. Not only that, but they're also making power cuts for 40 days. And it's not just Venezuela that's being affected by this. It's also other countries that are being affected by the drought. Of course, they say it's caused by El Nino. No, it's the government through HARP and CERN that are causing and staging all these so-called droughts and so-called earthquakes and things like that. I'm telling you, there is a bigger agenda going on. Of course, people are lining up trying to buy basic food items outside of a supermarket in Venezuela. And the question is, you don't think this is coming to America? You don't think this is coming to Europe? You don't think this is going to be a worldwide thing? Because it's only a matter of time until that happens. Like I said, what do the elite and the Illuminati do? They have to test all of this stuff out first. They have to test it all out in different strategic locations before they finally bring it all to America and Europe all at once. And if you don't believe me, oh, you're going to see it soon enough, because this is exactly how America's going to be looking real soon. And I'm saying that not for fear mongering. I'm saying that to get you ready and prepared ahead of time, so you can see the warning signs ahead of time, and so that you can pay attention to the world around you and see that no, not everything is well, like Mr. Obama's trying to feed you and the propaganda the mainstream media is trying to feed you, because they just want you focused on the stupid elections that honestly don't matter. But they don't want you focused on things like this that could affect the neighborhood or city near you. Now, this is an article from U.S. News, and it says Venezuela combats drought with 2-day work week. So not only are they running out of money with hyperinflation, not only is there a food crisis, not only is there a water crisis, and not only is there an energy crisis, but now they're dealing with drought and hardly any electricity. 2-day work week. I'm telling you, folks, it's only getting worse, and it's only a matter of time until this type of stuff really starts spreading high gear into places like America, if it already hasn't. And I'm trying to wake you up now so you can see that. But it goes on to say Venezuela's labor market was turned on its head Tuesday night as the government announced a 2-day work week designed to conserve power as the country grapples with national economic and energy crisis. Remember, problem, reaction, solution. They caused the problem by causing the energy crisis and the economic crisis to begin with. They as in the elite, they as in the Zionists. And then the reaction and the solution to that is, oh, conserve power. Oh, conserve this. Oh, conserve that, to pacify the sleeping public. It's only getting worse. And it goes on to say the embattled South American nation had already temporarily trimmed Fridays from its official public sector work week with the goal of keeping offices closed and cutting down on excess energy consumption. The move was expected to last about 2 months, during which time public employers were instructed to consider Fridays paid leave, but the vice president then announced on Tuesday that this week would be shortened further for those in the public sector, leaving just Monday and Tuesday for the country's civil services to report to their offices. And it says the shortened work week is the latest attempt by the Venezuelan government to shore up its energy reserves in the midst of a crippling drought. At least that's what they want us to believe, but we know it's only going to get worse. Then they talk about the level and the water level at the Guri Dam and how that's only getting worse too. I'm telling you, folks, it's not looking good anywhere. And it goes on to talk about the recession and the relatively low oil prices and how that's going to affect the public work week and the measures that must be taken. It ain't looking good, and I hope you're seeing that with both your eyes open and the bigger agenda behind all this, because, oh, remember, there's always a bigger agenda. Remember, problem, reaction, solution. What is this going to lead to, and what's going to be the cause of this? It's going to start leading to protests and rioting. Not only that, but they're already looking for a way to oust the president. I'm telling you, it's not looking good. And this is from the New York Times that was originally reported in the Associated Press, or AP, that says protests as Venezuela embraces 2-day work week to save power. It says Venezuelan cities cleaned up from a night of looting and fiery protests Wednesday as government offices closed their doors for the rest of the week in the face of a worsening energy crisis that is causing daily blackouts. And notice how they're not showing you any pictures or any footages of the blackouts that are going on, of the protests, and of the angry voters. They're not really showing you any of that. They're trying to keep you pacified as much as possible. And what are they trying to do? They're trying to sign a petition beginning the process of recalling the deeply unpopular president Nicolas Maduro, who was most likely put there from the beginning to do what? To cause these things. Because what? Working under the Zionists. I'm telling you, there's a bigger agenda behind all this. And or what was even worse is that what? It's controlled opposition, because obviously he's not keeping true with the Zionists, and he's not doing what they're telling him to do. So they have to come after the whole nation as a whole. And this is exactly how they're doing it, because they began imposing 4-hour daily blackout around the country to save electricity. And I did report it's not just Venezuela that's been experiencing these different power outages. We saw them in Jamaica, and we saw them in other places around the world. We're also seeing power outages in Nigeria as well. So the question is, why all the power outages? What exactly are they getting ready for? Now, the last place I would like to take you to is from the Times of India, and it says Venezuela's economic troubles not sustainable, according to the IMF, because they always love using that word sustainable. You could look at the UN, but it says Venezuela's economic situation blighted by the collapse of oil prices is unsustainable in the medium term, a senior International Monetary Fund official warned on Wednesday. So as you can see, it's only getting worse. And this talks about the domestic gross product. And it says that the country needs to take a substantial turn in economic policy. Well, how can they do that when they're the ones who are purposefully crashing it to begin with? I'm telling you, this is a stage collapse, and it's only getting worse from here. Please seek Yahuwah and his true son Yahusha, because I'm telling you, it's only going to get worse from here. You think this is bad. I'm telling you, you all need to see the bigger agenda, but hopefully you're seeing what's going on in the world around you, and that you're staying awakened to the things around you. This is Truth Unveiled here saying shalom.